This is a quick explanation of the spreadsheet containing all of the planning that we've put together so far for Key Stage 2 computing. So the first sheet just shows the progression between Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. The next sheet, Key Stage 2 Min, is just a selection of units against each one of the statements in the curriculum content for the computing program of study. So these statements go together because they're all to do with programming. So I've tried to color code all of the units. So this particular block here in purple is just one unit which covers each of these things, and there's a sentence against it if it's appropriate. So earlier on in year 3, you'll see that there isn't anything written in this particular cell, and that's because in year 3, when we're doing programming, we don't really work with variables in the units as proposed here. I mean, you might do, but not in the units written here, we don't really do that. There's an explanation column here which you can just hide if you don't want to see that and you just want to see all of the units. The other thing is mostly they're broken down into year 3, 4 and 5. However, sometimes, as in this case, this particular unit, you can decide to slot this in either to year 4 or to year 5. So I've kind of put it in between years. And the same case, there's a couple of different units that you could maybe do in year 6. So I've put those two together in that particular column. And that's only the case with the programming stuff. Otherwise, everything else is just kind of broken down into each yearly column. So various activities are here against each of the year groups that you can go away and have a look at. And there's all of the digital literacy stuff is coloured in this kind of bright orangey thing. And then right at the bottom, there are just sort of generic skills that you might want to have the children know. Things like keyboard shortcuts and being able to navigate various interfaces, or particularly pertinent to the way that your school system is set up. Now, some of the resources mentioned for the units here are listed in the Key Stage 2 links. So there's an explanation of the fish tank unit in Scratch here, and then there's various other things listed, and it also tells you which of these are free and which ones are not. There are a load of simulations listed which I haven't got a link to yet, but once I've uploaded those, I'll post out a link. There's also a yearly outline to try and put together an overview of where computer science, the programming-y type stuff, information technology, the stuff about networks and digital literacy is done. And there's a kind of explanation of all the different things that contribute to digital literacy just written here down the side. And so the way that this is written, so year 3 at the moment haven't got anything in autumn 1. But year 4 have got Logo and or Probotics. Simulations only takes a couple of lessons, so I've just kind of put that in the top half, and then the bottom half is blank there for you to add whichever units you want. So there are enough blank terms here to fit in discrete units for digital literacy if you wish to do that. Otherwise, it just maps out where programming is done in green and where internet network stuff is done in pink. And there's a little bit of digital literacy just put in there for handling data units. But again, you can just kind of pick that up and move it around as you see fit. So just in case that's useful. And then lastly, there is this curriculum split that you can think about how much digital literacy you want in each of the year groups and how much computer science, but it's all kind of arbitrary really, because sometimes you end up doing quite a bit of programming in year 1 because you can do just because BBots allow you to do that quite straightforwardly. So that's the spreadsheet so far. Also with the email, there is a couple of Word documents. One is a guide for just writing good simulation lessons, and it just talks about the resources that you might use, the key activities when you're doing a simulation lesson, and the key questions you want children to be engaged with. Really, the last one is thinking about the relationship between the variables in any kind of simulation. And then there's a list of key vocabulary. So if you come across any good simulations, then this might be a framework to develop a lesson around it. And there's also a guide to a good programming unit. So if you're looking to buy schemes of work, then it might be a good idea to just have a look at this to see whether the programming units meet this. So the emphasis should be on problem solving, and there should be a way of you setting a problem up so that you can assess children's competence in these areas for a programming unit. And then there's some key questions there and key vocabulary, and these are just kind of one side guides. I hope that's helpful. Any questions, obviously just drop me an email.